Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Acosta. I am a non-religious licensed minister, and today we're going to be talking about feelings. Yes, feelings. And oftentimes you'll hear in church, well, God has feelings, but he has them in control. And that's pretty much the extent of it. But why do we have them? Well, you're about to find out. All right? We'll be right back after this. So your feelings are there. God's given us these feelings. We have these feelings in order to understand the thoughts we're getting involved with. A lot of people use them to make decisions. You hear things from people saying, well, follow your heart. Well, Jeremiah says the heart is deceivingly wicked above all things. Who can know it? And there's a reason for that. Think about it. Wicked above all things. So you don't want to allow your feelings to make your decisions, but your feelings are telling you the thoughts that you're getting involved with. Now, what happens is, what starts in our early ages as children, if you watch the video on Raise a Child and the Way He Should Go. And so what happens is, as a child is growing up, they're taking in ideas and beliefs from everyone and everything around them. And those go right into the heart. And they start to formulate a base, the beginning of a structure of how they're going to perceive things and how their character and their personality is also going to develop. When something takes place, those inner beliefs cause us to have a perception of whatever is taking place. And some people will see the glass half full, and some will see the glass half empty. From that moment on, we're going to have a feeling about how we see it. See, people aren't depressed just because they're depressed. They're depressed based off the perception they have of something and how they feel about that. Right? So that's where it's coming from. It's coming from our perception of a thing. And so that should not be making the choices in your life. That is not. If you do that, you're putting the cart before the horse. That would be in reverse order. God doesn't make decisions based off of how he feels. Although sometimes people believe that is untrue, because then he would be backwards. That would be out of order. God is a God of order. So as we continue to get emotionally involved with a thought, and that leads us either in a negative way or in a positive way, we feel good or we feel bad, we feel joyful or we feel depressed and sad, we feel worry and doubt. What we are going to think is a matter of understanding. We can choose our thoughts. Oftentimes our thoughts are floating around. That's why, they say that we have over 16,000 thoughts in a day, just things going through our mind. And it's almost like if you looked at a social media page like let's say like Facebook, and you're scrolling through, and based upon what interests and the things are inside you, you're going to select something. You're going to look at that and you're going to read that or watch that, and you're going to be like, and you're going to feel a certain way about it. It's going to make you feel a certain way based off of what you saw, what you read, and what you heard. And then you're going to go past that one and you're going to see another one, and it's going to catch your attention based off of what is inside of you already, your perception of it, and how it's going to make you feel based off of how your perception is of it. And that's technically the same way. That's just an illustration of how our normal mind is working. Now, the thing to understand about that is that energy flows where attention goes. So if you are involved with a negative idea and you're feeling bad, it would be the equivalent of spending more money on that feeling to get more of the same. Well, then some people say, well, how do you get rid of it? Well, there's opposites. There's the opposite. Everything has a polar opposite. If you feel sad and depressed, there's joy. You feel faith. There's fear and faith are the opposite side of the same thing. Skepticism and belief are the opposite side of the same thing. Well, if a person doesn't believe, then they're skeptical about it, right? So it's the opposite sides of the same thing, and we have a choice of what thought we're going to get involved with. If you're feeling down and sad, you can think of a baby. Think of a baby that you love and you like, and you start remembering them. And don't start thinking sad things that, well, they're grown up, but start remembering the joyful thoughts, or the next time you're going to see them and you can't wait to see when they try a certain food for the first time and their reactions. There's a lot of good things to think about. Where your attention goes, the energy flows. And if you're feeling negative, you're going to get more of that. If you're feeling joyful, you're going to get more of that. Remember that you're spending spiritual coin energy and you're investing in more of the same. So don't allow yourself to dwell in a low place. You really have to understand what that's doing to you. If you ever watch people that love plants, you'll see some people that want to get involved growing plants. They don't always do so good. Everything dies. It doesn't do very well. And then you have some people that we say they have a green thumb. Well, they love their plants. And that praise, they'll even talk to their plants. There's a praise that's leaving that person. It's an energy that's flowing from that person. They're involved with a certain thought. They feel a certain way about it. And that is reflecting in the plant. One of my daughters, when she was in elementary school, I had her show, they were doing a science project, and I had her have two plants in the same pot, being watered and taken care of the same way. She named them each, and each day she talked to one positively, and the other day she talked to that one not so positively, in a lower condescending way. And after a certain, they do the same project with crystals, and they grow differently based upon how the person feels and talks to them. Well, one plant grew up very nice and bright, while the other one started to shrivel away. She won her science project fair with that. But I'm saying that to say that understand how you feel about something and the thoughts that you're getting involved with, and you're getting emotionally involved with, how they're affecting your own life and the results that you're getting. One of the reasons we praise God, because when we're in that motion, we're in that area of devotion and praise, when we are doing that, we're being thankful and grateful for the things that God has done for us. We can take time to notice all the little things, or they are fantastic and wonderful, or we can stop and notice all the things that are wrong. How do you think, if you had two different people, how do you think each one's going to feel? Right? We start to think about these things, and we don't understand that this is why we have these emotions. These emotions are to allow us to understand the thoughts that we're getting involved with. The thoughts that are going and scrolling through our mind that we're getting involved with, that are then having an impact in our life around us. This is hard for a lot of people to understand. And a lot of times we don't understand our relationship with God as we should. We really do not understand how He's made us and how He's created us, and how there is a function because of that we have. What I'm talking about right now is one of those functions. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a small exercise, and I want you to try this. And some of you will get on it and notice results right away. Some of you will enter it with skepticism and not even do it. And some might just not find it to work at all. And it really depends on what you're involved with and the belief on the inside. There is a verse here in Matthew 7. It's actually a few verses. I'm going to read them all. And the reason I'm going to read these is because I want you to understand that God always gives you what you're asking for. Now, we don't believe that, but He does. But then I have to get involved with the result that He's given me that. But I don't get involved. I continue to ask because I physically don't see it. Well, everything starts off in spirit. And unless you understand spirit, you're not going to be able to understand what's taking place, or what's taking place to the point of getting that and receiving that into my life or into your life. If you understand what I'm saying here, we can ask God for one particular thing, but I am emotionally involved with the opposite of that thing. Well, what's that doing? That's causing confusion. There's confusion not in God, in me. Because I have to learn to then get everything. I have to get my perception, my thought, and my emotions involved with. I have to get them all involved going in one direction. Well, I can't be asking God for this, and I'm emotionally involved with this and this thought and the things that I don't want. It doesn't work. So what kind of results do you think you're going to get like that? It just doesn't work. So we're going to read off of Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 through 11. And this is the Lord speaking. He says, "Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened." Think about that. It's just definite. It's with certainty. It's with absolute certainty. Or what man is there of you, whom if his son asks bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks a fish, will give him a serpent? If ye then, being evil, and technically we are, the heart is deceivingly wicked above all things, that includes the devil, who can know it? Being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children. How much more shall your Father, which is in heaven, give good things to them that ask him? Knowing that I can ask my Father in heaven and receive whatever it is that I am asking, and I do, and you should also, and we do, that should put you in a really good state of mind, that you would never be in lack, that you have no disease, even though your physical senses are telling you one thing. In spirit, that's impossible. You're a spiritual being. You are a spiritual being. You're not this flesh body. If you believe so, then you take in disease as a belief, and you get emotionally involved with that, and you will slowly kill yourself based off of that. You don't believe that? We watch when a woman thinks she's pregnant. She starts feeling symptoms, right? A person will be misdiagnosed with the wrong disease, and before you know it, they're starting to get the symptoms until they find out they were misdiagnosed. And then it all just goes away in a blink of an eye. How is that even possible? Knowing that our God, our Father, gives us whatever we are asking for. And you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how often he will give you better than you would have ever expected. And that's the truth. Every single time, I always get better, far better than I would have ever expected. It's always so much better than the image and the thought that I had in my mind when I asked. And so that allows me to understand that whatever is going on around me, I can ask for the relief and the resolution to that. I can ask to go in a different place beyond where that's at. And then I get it. And it's there. And I've received it. It's inside of me. And once it's inside of me, it starts to show up in my physical being and in my environment. But if I cannot get it into me because I am skeptical, because of the information I've taken in from the time I was in my youth, and the logic that's in my mind that says, unless other people are doing it, I can't do it either, because that's what logic is, then we won't be able to do it. We won't be able to receive it. Belief is a bridge that allows me to walk in faith, that allows me to obtain the things that I've asked for. He who's begun a good work, and he was faithful to complete it. And he is always going to complete it. And that's part of the work, because it's teaching me how to come out from where I am at. The bondage of where I am at. The slavery where my mind is at. And a lot of times people, Jesus set me free. Yes, he set you free from sin. But you have to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's walking out of bondage. You think the children of Israel were talking about getting out of there? They didn't want to go into the unknown. They were in a place where they were getting killed. They were losing their children. They were working. They were slaves. What do you think they said to each other that kept them there in slavery? We have God. God is sustaining us. Sustaining us. We have each other. We have our family, and that's the most important. We're going to have children. They're going to be born into the same bondage that we were born into. And all along there, God places a promised land. Not dying and going into heaven into the promised land, but the promised land that is there for you to obtain now. Why is that? Because along the way of arriving there, you start to see the things that God will do for you when you step out of that place, when you step out into the unknown with a destination in mind. Faith only works when there's a destination in mind. Faith without actions is dead. Faith without works is absolutely dead. And the work is to get you from one place to a bigger and greater place, losing the bondage that you had and understanding the relationship you were called to have. Now, if you don't do that and you don't get those steps going, you're never going to do it. You're going to be like the child or the person that is in the water, in the lake, holding on to the edge of the boat, too afraid to let go of the boat and swim onto shore. And so when turbulence comes, the water starts to move around, and now they're going to have faith that God is going to save them. Well, they didn't have the faith to make it across. They're not going to have the faith that God's going to save them. They're going to have the hope that despite the fear and the fear that they're involved with and the investment they're making in their own demise, that God is going to see beyond that and move them into a better place. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I can't sit there and get involved with the wrong things and then expect God to just pull me out of it. I have to make the conscious decision to get involved with a different idea. I have to make the conscious decision to get emotionally involved with a different thought. I have to make the conscious decision to choose a different perception of the same thing. Wayne Dyer said, change the way you see something and what you see will change. And that's true. Well, when I get involved with different ideas, now I'm opening the door for God to move in my life. But while I am in fear and I am over there, I'm not even making room for God to move in my life. How often times do you see somebody ask God for something? How often do you see somebody ask God for something in faith, but then they don't even prepare to receive it? I mean, think about that. If I'm expecting a new classic car, a 1969 Chevy SSRS Camaro, and I'm expecting it to arrive, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prepare my garage. I'm going to make room for it. I'm going to make sure I'm going to move whatever I need to move in order to have room to park it. But if I don't have the faith for it, I'm going to wait to see if it arrives, and then I'll start doing the work to make room for it. Now that's the way logical people think, but spirit doesn't function that way. Spirit is getting ready. Think about what Christ did. He told them that when he's going to feed the 5,000, sit them down. What is he doing? He's preparing what he's going to do before he starts feeding them. He's preparing them to eat, right? Well, that's not the way we function. We'll wait to see how many loaves and fishes he can break and how much that gives us before we have a few of them sit down. Who knows? You might get a spoon and just start spooning off fish because you can't see beyond that. Now, I'm going to give you a small exercise before I conclude here. And I want you to wake up every morning. And the first thing you're going to do every morning is you're going to find 10 things that are going on in your life right now that you are grateful for. And every time you have bad thoughts and you have bad feelings, I want you to go back to those 10 things you're grateful for and focus on those 10 things that you're grateful for. Now, make that a mixture of 10 things. It could be 5 things that you're grateful for that you have right now, and 5 things that you're grateful for that you're expecting, that you've already asked God for, that you know, beyond with all definite certainty, they're on the way. And I want you to do that. And I want you to see how it impacts your life. Now, if you don't believe it, it's not going to do anything for you. You can't cross a bridge if you don't have the bridge, and the bridge is belief. So on the other side of it, without the bridge, you can talk about it all you want. You can talk about it till the cows come home, but nothing's going to change. But you have to have the belief, which is the bridge, to cross that onto the place where you start to receive. Now, if you want to get into some deeper understanding of things, I have 2 books here. Let the Answer Sink In, and The Believer's Guide to Christ in You Manifested. And both of these really flow. This is the first one. This is the second one. They're available on Amazon, very reasonably priced. And they will start teaching you things that you really have to understand about yourself if we're going to bring Christ in us, the hope of glory, to the surface. Because that's what it's all about. It's not about just removing sin and now you're saved and you're going to heaven. That'd be a failed mission. Because God was redeeming us, not just from the sin, because the sin is a side effect of being disconnected from God. So it is the reconnection to where we were before the fall. That's why we have to be born again. Of what? Of water and spirit. Of spirit, we have to be born again. So that is the redemption back to where we were. And Christ was the perfect example of that. Now, you can read this book. You're not going to be walking on water tomorrow, or who knows, in a year. But you're going to start taking steps in the direction. And as you start taking steps, you'll start to see things differently than you've ever seen them before. And when you start to understand these things, you'll start to understand that the same patterns are all around you. You'll start to understand that everything fits in perfectly. That science and nature, what's going on in your life, and the Bible are all saying exactly the same thing. We are almost at 1,500 subscribers. Thank you very much. If you haven't taken a moment to subscribe, please subscribe, like, comment if you want, share it. Thank you.